welcome to Big V TV. What's so funny? I thought that was alright. Hope you're all well. Moving right along. Club of choice, Eltham. The Wildcats. Are you laughing at me there?
E-Town.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Something Callum said just
Oh,
before
that happens. As I've said a million times. I've said a million times.
Just asking.
Just asking. If people knew what happens, or got to hear what happens off camera,
I wouldn't have a job.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Club of choice this time around.
Clown, aren't you?
Yeah. Eltham Wildcats. A team that, well, they had 2 grand finalists last season. Yep. They had a title back to back.
Yep.
2-time defending champs.
I think we're going to see some changes though. I think we're going to see a lot of changes down at the Wildcats.
Well, look, that's an assumption, but we'll get to that.
Well, we know that there's been a lot of changes.
Yeah, but we also haven't heard anything.
We haven't heard a lot from Eltham, it must be said. It's been very, very quiet.
Very quiet.
Let's start off with the youth women. Finished 5th last season, 8 and 10. Middle of the road. They were really trying to make up ground for most of the season.
Yeah.
They had a couple of good wins here and there, but they just couldn't match it, I suppose, especially with the top 3 teams.
And they had a couple of older girls too, and they still weren't able. And I actually think Emma Glynn and Rebecca Lane have moved on.
Both gone
to different clubs, and I don't think you'll see them in Eltham uniform next season. But it'd be interesting to see if the next crop coming through are good.
They've got some good kids. They've got some great kids in that program, and I think we should see them. I would hope that we start to see some of these kids come through out of their junior program.
It's their plan, and I think that's why last year was possibly a little leaner than people might expect, and this season may be the same. They've identified that they've got to start bringing the juniors through, and that's part of their long-term strategy.
They're going to be in a tough comp, by the way, too.
Yeah.
And look, you go down around the courts on a Friday night and you see a lot of good Eltham kids running around with their boys and girls team. So if they are going to be bringing up over the next few years, even
not to mention their domestic competitions and massive.
That's right. The next bunch of kids, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
What do we think for the youth women?
I think we've said it in just about everyone that we've reviewed for VYCW. We don't know. We've got no idea when we match up the existing Big V clubs against the clubs that have come in from D-League. We've got no idea where everyone's going to stack up.
I think there's a fair chance that maybe a couple of last year's, I think so. Youth women move up to the champ team. So it could be a rebuilding season for the youth women. I think they'll miss the finals.
It's such a tough competition. I don't think they'll be quite there.
Let's have a look at the youth men. They finished 6th last season with an 11-11 record. Just snuck into finals. It was the top 6.
But an improvement again. Didn't we have the situation a couple of seasons ago where Eltham had all 4 teams? Were all 4 of them on the bottom, or was it just the 2 state champ teams that went?
They had some lean years.
That's right. So they're heading in the right direction.
Well, you mentioned a name there. It definitely was James Malvasso last season.
Yeah, he was key. He was pretty much their engine, and
Lloydie.
Yeah, and Lachlan Lloyd, absolutely. But I heard Lachlan Lloyd's moved elsewhere, and Malvasso, you'll probably see him in the men's team this year.
Think so.
And you might just see him in a huge role in the men's team.
And he's up to it.
Yes, he is. He's a very good player. But what it does do is leave a humongous void in the youth side. So possibility for some younger guys to come through and try and do what they can as a collective, perhaps.
I think speaking to someone at Eltham pre-Christmas, they did say that they were going to go pretty young with the youth league maybe this year and bring up the next bunch of players, and they've recognised that results-wise they might take a hit there, but again, new youth things about the development pathway into senior too. So.
I think we're going to see some changes down there for sure with the youth women and youth men, and finals may not be a part of the scenario for 2013, but I think we're going to see them start to develop and obviously grow for the future. So good luck to both those teams.
I was going to say though, that's been a common thread in a lot of clubs that we've reviewed today.
Championship.
Absolutely. So while we're saying, oh, they're not going to make it, someone has to make it. And if everyone's doing the same thing and bringing the next group of kids through,
state champ women, back to back.
2-time defending champs.
Really, really good, but they also have some changes on the way. The Woodsman, Sammy Woosnam, who I've got to be honest with you, I spoke to her at length after the grand final, and she just cannot understand how you gave her that crap nickname.
I thought it was pretty good.
Well, she was not happy about it.
That's why she's not playing.
So what?
Well, it's just, she said it was ridiculous and you got issues. I said, yeah, you're right.
I knew that, it's not news.
Sammy Woosnam has moved, I think, across to Sandringham. Eleanor Sharp, I believe, has now officially retired.
Well, I saw a presentation, but you never know. I wouldn't count her out.
And definitely a couple of other changes amongst the ranks. I don't think we're going to see a third title in a row. I don't know that. Who knows? They could turn around and recruit a couple in the next few weeks.
As we said, it's been pretty quiet down there. So
yeah,
you wouldn't hear. Oh, well, I won't use that term.
Who are some of the players you'd expect still? Some of those younger players.
Oh, you're probably looking at Olivia Bontempelli. Probably maybe Jessica Berzatto might still be there. I think there's a few there that are pretty.
And those young players are still pretty good.
Rebecca Camp-Pigley.
Yeah, they can still play. So
yeah, and they've also had the grounding of being a successful or part of a successful team for the last 2 years. So they've already got
winning
that
culture.
winning culture.
Here it is.
So who's to say if they don't bring, we just might not have heard if they bring in a couple of people, all of a sudden they're up there again.
Yeah. And let's face it, the landscape in state champ women, Eltham isn't the only team undergoing change.
No.
They're not the only team that's shuffling some players around.
Yeah.
So, look, I think they can push for finals. I don't think they're going to be in the top couple.
No.
Did you call it Eleanor Sharp?
Yeah, well,
I thought I was just making sure.
Cesare, okay, we know that she's
Nee.
married, yep.
Nisha.
I reckon maybe push for fourth, but I actually think they might miss.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
I think they'll miss.
But
Yeah.
it's going to depend on the strength of the others in there.
I just don't know.
I think they will bring someone in to go with their kids. So I'm going to
It could even
finish in the top 4.
It could even be in like round 5.
I think
they could.
I think they'll be okay. I just think they're.
I'm not willing to count them out of finals, and I think they
Yeah.
might squeeze themselves in.
I agree.
We're the greatest bunch of fence sitters going
I'm
around.
going to go
State champ men finished second last season, 15-5 of course, lost that grand final series to Ringwood.
It was a ring-a-ding.
It was. In fact, they've lost the last 2, it should be said, to
Yes,
Waverley
they have.
and to Ringwood. They've undergone a whole heap of change. Coach has gone, Cameron Lloyd, Carl Beston, Maddie Fennell, Liam Norton, Mwimba Maluma, obviously Cameron Trigar. We are talking about a dramatic change to what was a very competitive team.
They were a juggernaut,
Yeah.
and they were one of the biggest headlines of the last few years in Championship. It's going to look a little bit different this year. They've got a new coach in Angelo Calcagno. He's got some experience over in Europe as a professional player. He was one of the
18th coach.
Yes, he was a junior coach at Eltham, and he's got the
I think he's
call
a
up.
pretty big guy too, isn't he? 6 foot.
Yeah.
Oh right.
I think they're just going to sit. I think he's actually going to sit down under one of the rings.
Right, sure.
Just throw it to the coach. Just throw it to the coach.
Well, I think one of Eltham's main good, been there forever kind of guys, Johnny Lister's going to be there still.
Yeah.
So that gives them, a bit of class. Malvasso, we would assume, would slot in there. But apart from that,
Who knows?
I reckon they're going to struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tough. I mean, Beston, Fennell, Norton, Maluma, even though it was obviously a backup trigger, we're talking about some very, very good players that are no longer there. For whatever reason, like Beston's moved on, Fennell has, Norton has. I'm not sure what Trigger's doing. Maluma, I think, headed over to Hume City or thereabouts. I think it's going to be a pretty tough season, to be honest with you. Especially that top 5. It is it's
Super
ultra
strong.
competitive the whole way, but you cannot afford to be off your game against some of these teams.
Here's a question for you though. With state champ men, on paper, Eltham, I think everyone would agree, Eltham had the best lineup the last 2 years in a row.
Yep.
I think they,
Haven't got a title for whatever reason, the group didn't click or whatever. Do they persevere with that model and continue to buy top end players in, or do they just go, you know what, we're going to change our philosophy totally, we're going to bring the next crop through, we're going to cop a beating for the next couple of years, but we're then going to look to top our kids up who had a couple of years experience at state champ, we'll then bring in a couple of top end players and we'll have a crack at a title with our own kids.
Let's ask the real question, which I can take it on board that it's something that you probably wouldn't ask given your role and responsibility, but I think they underachieved the last couple of years in terms of getting that title. I think they had 2 very good home and away seasons.
I think that first year was
really good home and away seasons, and they just couldn't get across the line. I think that if they had won a title in the last 2 years, they'd be really content and happy to move into this next phase.
Yeah.
I think that it's probably more a force of nature with players moving on elsewhere that they have to move into this next phase.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's their choice to do it. I think they're in a scenario where they have to do it
Oh, and I
because
think
the
it's
players
a
aren't
definite
there.
choice,
You think so?
change of direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
they have changed
yeah.
the direction.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Hopefully they don't mind me saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know, James Malvasso, you know, he's, and I've said the word a lot,
He's
he's a
ready.
freak.
He's ready.
And, you know, he's going to be someone that is an Eltham junior that they can build a team around moving forward.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'll be alright.
I should just say with Greer, Tregar and Leonard the year before,
And Sturt.
I probably reckon that was the key
the one.
year that they should have
That
won,
was
and
a
they didn't.
Waverley. And they just run into a Waverley team that clicked right,
Yeah.
right
They're
at
ready
the
to
right
go.
time.
Last year, Eltham weren't the favourites. Ringwood were the favourites,
Yeah.
and they won the title. I think the year before was the one that got
I
away
agree.
from it.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll make finals. I think it's going to be a real
Not
transition
this
for
year.
them
Not
this
this
year.
year.
I think you're probably right.
There you go. There's Eltham.
Yeah.
Good luck to all 4 teams out there. No doubt a healthy Eltham and a vibrant Eltham it makes for a really good competition. So we want to see the Wildcats up there and performing strongly. Season 2013, not too far away. We've visited Eltham. Where are we headed off to next? Stick with us.